to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matters. Big thank you to them for sponsoring the show all season long. And a big thank you to Sutton Pools for sponsoring all of the interviews every single Sunday, whether we're talking to coaches or just people around the game of eight-man football. Very, very thankful to Sutton Pools for sponsoring that. What a wild 48 hours. I'll tell you what. Man. So, I'm excited about today. 3:15, we'll have Mr. Andrew Caps on once again, kind of becoming a little bit of a regular on the show. But at 3:15, we'll have Andrew Caps on, and we're going to recap the Gatlinburg Black Bear Brawl yesterday. That was the majority of the games that happened this past weekend. They weren't the only games, but I'll get to that in just a second. At 3:40, we're going to have Coach Tim Moore from Russell Christian Academy there in Meridian, Mississippi. They kick off their season this Friday. They are the defending, I think, 7-time defending Christian Football Association, Alabama Christian Athletic Association champions. So they are looking to defend their title again, and they kick off that title defense this Friday night. But before we get to that, we had games on Friday night. It was gorgeous. I think we had a game on Thursday down in Louisiana. So let's run over these real quick. AISA has not started yet. Christian Football Association has not started yet. But in the Southeastern Extreme Conference, had a couple games that did not happen in Gatlinburg. Chattanooga Patriots, they kicked off their football program by hosting Carolina Wildcats, and Wildcats get the 44-6 win there in Chat. But it's a huge step in the right direction for Chat just to get a program on the field, just to get a product on the field. That's huge for them. So a big congratulations to them. And Carolina Wildcats, their first year in the SIFA, and then they go play a team from another conference and kind of handle business. So good luck for that conference. Good luck for that conference. No doubt. Run through these couple of these real quick. Mike Barnett, 7 of 8, 211, 2 touchdowns. Jerichus Mackey, 7 carries, 145, 2 touchdowns. And then Cameron Seals, 3 catches for 121. And let me see who the defensive team leader was. That would be Titus Hendricks with 9 tackles and 4 sacks. So, absolutely handled business Friday night. Congratulations to the Wildcats kicking off their season 1-0. You also had Riverside Christian Academy on the road in Columbia, Tennessee, to take on Zion Christian. And the Eagles, 36-8 over the Knights. Eagles start their season out now 1-0. Knights, first year of Coach Travis Creasy. And a little bit of a rough first game, but they'll get it going. Down in Louisiana, let me get that score pulled up real quick. So on Thursday, you had a game, North Shore Vultures hosting First Baptist Christian. Vultures with the 42-16 win. On Friday night, you had a rematch of the ACEL championship game from last season. JPG versus Acadiana Christian, and JPG, just like in the championship, gets the win 44-22. They had a game yesterday, supposedly, in the ACEL, Mount Olive Christian and Southwest Louisiana Homeschool. No scores reported for that game currently, so we will have to try and keep an eye out for that. Trying to see who else played this weekend other than in Gatlinburg. Let's see, that was Gatlinburg. So it's got Coastal Hurricanes and Jefferson Davis Academy listed for this past Friday. Let's see. if I can find a score here. That doesn't look promising. Let's see. May not be able to find a score. Okay, I don't see a score. But and who knows if that game happened. But anyways. Let's see who else played. That was really it except for yesterday up in Mount Juliet. Christian Community at the Tennessee Heat. Two programs that have been around for a while. They are pretty close, fairly close. But close game throughout the first three quarters. 24, 14, 14, 28, 28, 24 at the end of the third quarter. And then Tennessee Heat put up 3 touchdowns in the fourth and come away with a big 46-24 win. I'm checking Zion and Riverside just to see if there's a box score. There is no box score. Now, Riverside has put stats in. And it looks like they didn't get a ton going offensively. They had Elijah Barrett with 11 tackles, 8 solo. Let's see. Yeah, so there's that. So shout out to Riverside for getting stats into Max Preps. Let's see if Christian Community and Tennessee Heat. No stats there. So, like I said, 3:15 we'll have Andrew Capps on from Rocky Top Sports World, but let's run through this real quick. So the first game of the day yesterday was Tri-Cities Christian taking on the Augusta Eagles. If you're a fan of shootouts, this is the game for you. This is absolutely the game for you. The final score 76-40. It's 8-8 at the end of the first quarter. And then Tri-Cities outscores Augusta 54-24 in the second quarter. Tri-Cities put up 54 points in the second quarter. And then 6 in the third, and then they each scored a touchdown in the fourth. So 76-40 final score there for the Augusta Eagles. Team leader was Nathan Vossler. Offensively, 6 of 13, 91 yards. He also carried the ball 14 times, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Not a whole lot of catches or receiving yards. Now, defensively, there's no stats in. And Tri-Cities has not put up stats. So, but I remember keeping an eye on that one because I was calling a Freedom Cowboys Pack Panthers JV game and just looking at it and going, what's going on? Just absolutely blown away. Freedom Cowboys and Pack Panthers, they played in the 1 o'clock time slot. The Augusta Tri-Cities game was 10. Freedom and Pack was 1. And if you're a fan of a defensive just dogfight, then that was the game for you. Pack comes away with a 14-12 win. And, of course, if you're Freedom Cowboys, you're thinking about the 2 two-point conversion attempts that you did not convert, because that's the difference in the ball game. So, there you go. And then the 4 o'clock time slot, Evangel Christian, they took on Arendelle Parrott from North Carolina, and they come away with the 38-19 win over the Patriots. For Evangel, Kemp Swords, 11-16, 195, 3 touchdowns, and he also ran 11 times for 94 yards and a touchdown. Will Welch, 5 catches, 133 yards, and 2 touchdown catches. Those are your offensive leaders there. In terms of defense, you had Nick Cloud with 8 total tackles. Let me get back to these stats real quick. Okay. Nick Cloud with 8 total tackles. Reed Castleberry with 9 tackles. Now, Cloud had 3.5 tackles for loss. He had a fumble recovery. Eli Black had a forced fumble. Castleberry had a block punt. And Eli Black had a blocked field goal. For Arendo Parrott, they have not put stats on Max Preps yet. And then the last game I want to go over real quick, East Central Patriots versus Harvest Christian. I think it was at the same time as the Freedom Pack game, same time slot. And East Central, 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, 2 touchdowns in the second. It wasn't a blowout game, but they were just able to pull ahead, and Harvest just could not get that offense going. They had a couple little bursts, but they could not get the offense going. East Central just closes the door in the second half, and so the Patriots start out the season 1-0. So congratulations to them on that. And for Harvest, first game of the year, you got some kinks to work out. So, now I will say, over the course of Friday and Saturday, you had SIFA very active. Wildcats playing Chattanooga, Eagles playing Tri-Cities, Harvest playing East Central, Pack played Freedom. So East Central with the win over Harvest, so ACSC is 1-0 over SIFA. And then Pack beat Freedom, and Carolina beat Chattanooga. So SIFA 2-1 over the SEEC. So it's kind of fun to keep up with stuff like that throughout the year. Just see how everybody did. So at this time, let's go ahead. I know it's a couple minutes early, but I want to go ahead and get him on the phone. Can you hear me? Yes. Hang on, let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
It's very faint. Let me see. How about now? There we go.
Better, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, let me turn this up just a little bit. Oh, I need to turn myself down there some. There we go. Well, joining me now is the Director of Business Development, the man with 10,000 steps on his steps counter yesterday up there at Rocky Top Sports World, coordinating the 2024 Black Bear Brawl. And Andrew, a long day, but a day full of a smorgasbord. We talked about this. Any kind of game you might like as a football fan, that you had that game there.
Yeah, we really had it all, and it was like you said, it was a long day, but it was a fun day, man. I slept like a rock last night, but it was worth it all.
Me and you both. I'll tell you that right now. What was, obviously everybody knows about the weather delay last year. What was was there any equivalent yesterday that you can mention without any issues? Was there anything crazy? Was there anything crazy that happened?
Oh, not really. I mean, just on the field, which is how you want it to be. We didn't have last year was so crazy because that really wasn't expected. Especially that magnitude of storm. So
right.
It got hectic for that reason. So the day always starts off a little hectic internally. I think, and this is our job, 365 days a year at Rocky Top, is we get really stressed out and scrambled internally to just to make sure that hopefully our guests don't see any potential issues. So some of the things we see or get really frazzled about, a lot of times it doesn't get to the surface, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like we had a day like that where everything was on time. Every game started on time. The teams arrived when they should. We had full cooperation across the board, and I thought the referees did a great job. I thought you guys did a great job as a streaming crew, both PA guys. Colby, who we just hired 3 weeks ago as the field director on 6, got handed a lot of challenges, starting with scoreboard and other things along the way, and he handled those. So I don't think yesterday could have gone any better. I think it was awesome. I mean, every game had its own storyline. We saw a lot of great athletes that we were expecting to see do well, and then a lot of new athletes that we didn't really know much about that really broke out yesterday and got on our radar. So that was about as good a day as we could ask for.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I really enjoyed about it in terms of the athletes was the guys that you expected to show up, they did. And then you got to see new guys, like you just said. I know for me personally, some of the guys that I expected to show up, guys like Kemp Swords, guys like Jalen Solomon, I thought had a solid day. Knox Cooper, Andrew Barksdale from East Central, the guys from Tri-Cities. I mean, take your pick. That game was wild. That game was wild. Who were some of the guys that you expected to do well, and then some of the new guys?
Yeah, you said a few of them. I think Logan Briers and Jalen Venter from the Cowboys.
I didn't even think about that. Yep.
Did exactly what I thought they would do, and then some. Logan was flying all over the field. Looked like a next level linebacker, and Jalen. And I actually poked a little fun at Jalen in the in the pregame when he was getting warmed up. I asked him if he got a little weaker from last December because he's yoked.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
I just just the type of body that you walk up to and you're like, this kid is just a stud, and he's still just a junior, but he's yoked, and he. But here's the thing: is just Pack. We'll get to that game, but Pack matched his physicality, and he had to work hard for everything he got. He had a great game, but it was not easy, and I think he'll have some games this year where things will come easy, but in game one, nothing came easy.
Yeah, and again, I go back to it still baffles me that, and I didn't even get to be at the games. I was down the hill, but just the contrast of game 1 to game 2. Game 1, you've got a touchdown every 5 minutes, if not quicker than that. Game 2, you have 4 touchdowns throughout the entire game.
Game on a full-width
football field.
I'll say it was not due to a lack of talent.
Yeah.
Dan Slam and his team on Pack, they are very formidable offense that got stifled. The Freedom Cowboys, again, a dominant run game on both sides that had some success, but not enough to put more than 2 scores on the board. And we were a 2-point conversion inches away from an overtime game. So we'll go through it one game at a time if that works for you. I think
let's do it.
Combination where I saw every game that was on field 5, you saw every game that was on field 6, and so we have some good eyes on those games. So.
Well, grab you a bottle of water. Let's go through it. So we kind of went through game 1 a little bit with Tri-Cities and Augusta. But again, just it was a fun game. It was the one. It reminded me of, and I know Tri-Cities pulled away, but it reminded me of Kansas City and the Rams a couple years ago on Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that game, but it was just shootout. It was just back and forth, and defenses were kind of non-existent. I mean, they were there every blue moon. But a lot of the guys were gassed because on offense they were scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about either defense in that game because it was not just a total lack of defense. It was just game planning and talent on both sides was the reason for that score. So,
and it's tough in 8-man because half the guys on that defense are playing on offense.
Right,
So
exactly.
so
So it was
they're gassed. They're trying to catch their breath from scoring.
right, and we did not. And I'll recap the first half. So we got our first quarter that we had 4 scores, maybe, which was a pretty standard quarter. It was the second quarter that lasted exactly an hour almost on the dot.
No way.
So we had a 1 hour second quarter where I think we went into it 14 all. It was at least 2 scores to 2 scores. And then we went into halftime 67 to 38, 30 some, it was almost the final score was the halftime score. So they
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
everybody, Tri-Cities kind of slowed it down in the second half, tried to eat some clock, stay healthy. But it's shocking to me, and I'm glad it was. I mean, it's just what a way to kick off the day. 10 a.m., which is just a crazy time to start a football game.
Yeah, no doubt.
You would not expect the 10 a.m. game to be the 100 plus combined points game.
No, no.
But you could tell right away. Jeremy Boskin, his first play was a flea flicker. No surprise, knowing him. He's one of those crazy offensive-minded guys that does things like that. And it was open. Receiver unfortunately dropped the pass. Would have been a touchdown, but later on he called the same flea flicker play again and scored. He might have done it twice, but
yeah.
We awarded Preston Holmes number 8 on Tri-City with the MVP award. To us in the press box, it was clear that he was the best player on the field in that game, both offensively and defensively. So I think we had a pretty clear-cut plan. We always try to maybe go into the half, the fourth quarter with, if this team wins, this is who we think might win MVP. If this team wins, so we were pretty much saying from the second quarter on, it's Preston Holmes,
former All-American, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's great to point out. So he's played up here in the All-American game, and he looks physically imposing. He's just, you look out on the field, and number 8 sticks out. So he looks like he could play at any level of high school football, 11 or 8 man, and hopefully he gets his chance at the next level as well, because I really think he could do something. But he did it as a running back. He did it as a linebacker. He was pivotal in special teams and receiving. He was the guy throwing the ball back on the flea flicker. A lot of the reason why it works, because when number 8 got the ball, defense was sucking in to try to stop him. It took more than one guy to take him down in most cases, and that left a lot of wide open receivers. So Tri-City's quarterback, Jordan Brown, number 4, he was just throwing it all over the field. As you can tell, 76 points. You don't do that without a lot of passing touchdowns.
No.
And then another All-American, Josiah Dixon, he was the receiving end of most of those scores. So those are guys we expected to do well, and they did. But there was a new name on Tri-Cities. Unfortunately, he went down early. Doesn't look like it was a serious injury. I hope it wasn't, because I believe he scored Tri-Cities' first touchdown. That's Drew Roop. Drew looks really good as a slot receiver, running back. Looks like he'll be a real weapon for Coach Boskin. But hope he's coming back 100% healthy. But he did have to leave that game a little early. But they kept firing right after that. So I think what you saw is a team that's bought in to Coach Boskin's system. I want to point out that team played back in February at an elite 7-on-7 tournament we hosted at Rocky Top. So they were going up against 3, 4, 5-star guys.
Yeah.
And held their own up there. So they're not afraid of competition. Coach Boskin's not afraid to play anybody. So I really think that's a team that you need to put on a radar as one of the better 8-man teams in the Southeast, because I do not think Augusta Eagles is any sort of slouch. They put up 40 points. Yes, it might have been a 30-plus point victory, but I think Augusta will win a lot of games this year, and they've got some dudes as well.
Yeah, I mean, how often do you put up 30 points or 40 points and lose?
Exactly.
That's just to put up 40 points. There's teams that just dream of that.
Absolutely, and I think Coach Josh Whiting would agree that they were just a little too sloppy. Week 0, everybody's a little sloppy, but there were some things, some snapping infractions, some things that you hope to clean up after week 0 that probably would have helped them out a lot. But they've got some dogs. We knew about his son. We knew about number 5 on their team. But we didn't know about number 10. I'm trying to look up his name. He's a new addition to the Augusta Eagles, and he's a guy that's now on our watch list. He returned a kick for a touchdown. I think he had a receiving touchdown. He had that next level speed. His name is Jaquil Roberts. And then Nathan Bossler, their quarterback, who's only a sophomore, dual threat guy. He had a rushing touchdown or 2, passing touchdown. That's going to be a guy that we're going to be watching for rising stars now, because he really looked good out there. He had a great game. And then, of course, I want to make sure to point out a guy that was on our watch list already, Eli Petit. He was on the receiving end of a couple of those touchdowns. He ran one in himself, one in particular where you guys will hopefully make a highlight out of this. He rolled over the defender, one of those plays where, and maybe instant replay would show maybe an elbow or knee went down. I think Coach Boston would probably argue that it did. But he rolled over the defender, and everybody's kind of standing around. He smart play from the kid. He stayed moving, took it all the way to the house, probably 60, 70 yards. So he's got breakaway speed, but he's also got size. So I really see this Augusta team, rebounding from this, learning from it, and becoming a really good team this season that we've got to watch out for. They'll obviously have a big battle against Pack Panthers at some point, which we'll tackle here in a couple games. But I see them winning a lot of games. I don't think the final score was indicative of what that team will become. And maybe if that matchup was to happen in November, the score might be different.
September 6th, it's Augusta and Pack.
Right, so that's
and
that's
Augusta.
the game I'll be definitely trying to watch.
And Augusta has a tough opponent coming up next week in Westminster Schools of Augusta.
Oh man, yeah, that's a big
one.
That's a big one right there. They're gonna have to face another great 8-man quarterback, one of the best in the Southeast, and Levi Murphy. So, yeah, right. I mean, no sleep for Coach Josh, because that's rolling from one great opponent to another. So, kudos to him for loading that schedule up.
Well, we kind of went over the Pack Freedom game a little bit.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the JV game with younger guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember the quarterback because he stuck out. Let me see. That was Henry Bennett, freshman quarterback. He's a big kid. 6'1", 202 as a freshman, and he can fire the ball. I can only assume it hurts to get hit by him. Just observation. But a sophomore, number 9, Evan Watt, is somebody that really stuck out too. Had a couple picks, had a catch for a touchdown. And just really stepped up to a next level. And those two really, really stood out to me. Gavin Taylor had a couple runs, but really Watt and Bennett were kind of the two that I looked at and I said, you know what? I think Pack's okay. I think they're just fine. For Freedom, Jeremiah Butler, who everybody knows his older brother Josh, having played at Freedom back in the day, but Jeremiah, who's just a freshman, he was, I think he had 2 interceptions of his own, and Freedom didn't score, so a lot of their highlights came defensively. But he had some, I want to say he had 2 interceptions, maybe 1. I know he had a couple PBUs, but he was all over the place yesterday, just making it happen. And obviously Freedom shut out in the game. But for Pack, they got it done. And that's really all you can ask out of the young guys, is just to get the job done, no matter how you do it. If it takes just grinding out 3 or 4 touchdowns and then a shutdown defense, there you go. That's what the older guys had to do. The older guys just had to put a couple touchdowns on the board. They allowed a couple. But you know what? When the moments came up and they needed to make the stops, they made the stops. And if that's going to be Pack brand football, they're already starting to instill it young. and that's a huge benefit to them.
Yeah, that's I really think Coach Yeomans is and his staff is building something strong there. They've got good numbers. I know they have some 11-man games on their schedule this year, so they need
Yeah,
the
I
numbers.
saw that. I saw that.
So those JV guys are going to get some playing time, and then they have a full JV schedule as well. So kudos to the Pack Panthers for really working hard to get these kids a good slate of games, starting with yesterday.
Well, let's talk about. Let's see. You want to do game two at the?
We'll go right to the Pack and.
I was about to say, let's go. Let's go to the varsity game.
Yeah, so I had said a week or two ago that I thought that would be the game of the day, and it proved to be correct, I believe. I don't know that I expected it to be a 14-12 final score, but it was definitely just an even matchup. The two teams match up well against each other, physical, strong. I mean, I had a couple of the 11-man teams mention how they watched that game, and it did not look like you were watching an 8-man game. It looked like an 11-man power matchup with hard hitting, strong players, and it was back and forth. I think Pack was a little more. I want to say awake, I guess, early in the game.
Yeah,
I feel like it took Freedom a little longer to kind of get into the groove.
Which
Really,
to be fair,
really,
1 o'clock kickoff, so still a pretty
1
early
o'clock,
kickoff.
It was the heat. I think even more than the fact that it was that was the heat of the day. That was when it was the hottest. I know it was scorching out there, and it seemed like once they got that long touchdown pass, they really started to wake up and roll from there. But it might have been a little bit too late because Pack and the MVP from that game was Sean McNulty, who we all know very well as being multiple-time representative here as a rising star, as the juniors game last year, winning defensive MVP. But what solidified his MVP this year is what he did on offense. So they've got a backfield that now includes him plus Jance Lamb. That's scary because you got lightning and thunder. Really, he's the thunder, and he's fast. He's not a slow big guy. That's why he plays linebacker and he sideline to sideline speed. He had a big touchdown run that helped get a good early score, and then he also had a great defense as well. Recovery, several tackles. So that won him the MVP, but I do want to mention that Jance Lamb was very much in the discussion as well. He played great at his running quarterback position. And then also, I believe he had to see more time at corner because probably Pack's best corner, Larry Reinhardt, was not in the game yesterday. So Jance came in there and played a great corner position. So Sean, I would say Sean just narrowly edged out Jance for the MVP award. So both were deserving, but we felt that Sean's defensive stats to go along with the touchdown was enough, and just the eye test. He was in a game that was physical and hard hitting. He was the most physical and the most hard hitting. So that was a fun game. I think Jalen Venter, talked about him. He played some quarterback. I think he ended up throwing the touchdown pass, and he running back and in the slot. They moved him all over the place, but Pack was ready for him. I mean, he ended up with some yards, but he had to take some hits to do that, and it was not easy. I think Freedom. It looks like they're still working on a passing game. We know both teams are run heavy, but Pack did have a little more of a threat in the passing game. I think that ended up being a big reason why they won.
Yeah.
I think Freedom. There were some times where it felt like Pack was ready, almost like they knew what play was coming, and Freedom couldn't just line up and power through them. That's and that's another team that I think Freedom's going to go on from this and win a lot of games too. They're going to go out there and they're going to pound the rock, and they are going to beat people that way. But Pack was ready for it, and they're built for that. So that's why I thought that was a great matchup, and it ended up being the game of the day. But just mind blowing to see an eight man football game with two high caliber teams like that ended 14-12
On a full size field.
On a full size field, right?
Yeah.
With the speed and talent that both teams have, that's just a testament to their defense, and it was fun to watch. I really enjoyed that game, and I think both teams will have very good seasons, and probably end up both of them in top 10 to top 20 rankings in the 8-man rank, if I had to guess, if not higher.
Yeah, and of course with Freedom and Tri-Cities being in the same conference, they don't play each other, but in the same conference, so it's going to be fun seeing kind of the race between the two of them in two separate divisions. Augusta and Pack in the same conference, they're going to play each other. We talked about this down the road in September, so two kind of different storylines that are going to be fun to keep an eye on.
Yes, yeah, definitely, and I want to point out in both games and just overall for the day, I do want to give some love to the cheerleaders. I think we had, out of the 12 teams, I believe 10 brought their cheer teams, and that just created such an awesome atmosphere. We had multiple games where both cheer squads were on their sidelines, and it felt like a bowl game with all the elements that you want in it. So kudos to the cheer squads. I know Tri-Cities, that was their very first experience as a cheer squad. That was their first cheer team. So how about started off at the Black Bear Brawl with a opening ceremony with a halftime routine, and they nailed it. So it only get easier from here for them. So that was the 1 o'clock game. I mean, that was a classic. I'm very excited to see what those teams do going forward, and that game was everything I thought it would be. And those teams play each other 10 times. They're each going to win 5. That's just the type of even matchup it was.
Well, the other 1 o'clock game down at Field 6, Harvest Christian and the East Central Patriots. Harvest, the third team coming out of the SIFA, and East Central coming out of ACSC. It was really just a matter of, to me, it was Harvest being overpowered. Now their guys have so much heart. Chris Norman, Greg Lehan, Keegan Fanning, Eddie Uri. Lehan, 44, he's a junior. Absolute, great athlete. Just couldn't get any space. Couldn't move once he got the ball. A couple kip ups, so kind of cool to see that. But just across the board, Ryan Fanning. I mentioned Keegan Fanning, his twin. Both of them just absolutely doing everything they could, and all the young men. That was the most impressive thing to see for me from Harvest was there was zero quit in the Hawks. Absolutely no quit in them to the end. So huge kudos to them.
And I'll say a quick note on that. I think their coach Anthony Day, he talk about a guy that puts all of his time and effort into that team and program and their church and he's a great coach. He's a great leader of that team, and I have all the respect for him. It's great to finally meet him in person, but he's a guy I'm rooting for, and I know it's not easy what he's doing, but he's putting everything, all resources and time into those kids, and they're lucky to have him. So
it's like I said,
comes from the top.
Like I said, it's a huge credit to him, the effort his guys gave, just doing the best they could, even when they were just absolutely gassed. The best they could. So huge hats off to them. In terms of East Central, man, they've got the guys. Knox Cooper, one of their senior quarterbacks. Andrew Barksdale, who's a former All-American.
Yep.
Micah Smith had a day. Jeb Lacey had a day. Levi Jett. Just the guys, the number of guys they have across the board. In the first half, they put up 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, 2 touchdowns in the second, and then kind of tapped the brakes a little bit in the second half. Very gracious gesture, very sportsmanlike, and of course, Coach Daniel Smith, top notch. We had him on the show last week, and just a great guy and a good man. And it was you got to see enough out of East Central that they're going to be they're going to be fun to watch this year.
Yeah, and I said that going in as well. I thought that they were a team that could really make a statement in this game because look at their schedule, look at the conference they're in. They've got to play some monster teams.
And I do have to give a little bit of love to number 16 Barrett Weems, their sophomore kicker, 4 for 4 on extra points.
Let's go.
My vote was that he was named the MVP of the game yesterday for going 4 for 4, so that we have an automatic kicker in the Rising Stars game. But that was just my vote.
Hey, well, I will tell you that kickers are hard to come by. So assuming he gets nominated by Coach Smith, he has a very good chance of getting in and maybe even kicking for more than one game. So we are always wanting more and more kickers. Got to talk to one of the better kickers we've had, Zechariah Dukes, with Georgia Force last night. And
yeah.
I was making sure that he's planning on being here December. We need those type of kickers, and So Barrett. Make sure, Coach Smith, if you're listening, make sure you get him nominated in October because he has a very good chance to come up here and kick. We love the kickers here. But yeah, that's awesome. And we had to make a little shift on that field. We had a last-minute hydraulic issue with the side of the field where we have a removable goalpost. So we had only one goalpost on the field. So chances are Barrett had to run down to the other side of the field to kick an extra point and still nailed it. So that shows
twice.
Yeah, there 2 out of 4 he did that. So that's a testament to him as a kicker as well. And East Central, I think they really made a statement and to show that they're ready to compete in that conference and ready to compete with the better teams. Micah Smith, I've said this since last December. His combine stats, he led them in multiple, especially in the vertical. The kid has next level athletic ability and just God-given, natural-born athlete. And you look at him and he looks it too. So, he's only a matter of time before he really breaks out. Andrew Barksdale's as solid as they come, just like his brother at DB. So he did what we expected as a guy that was already on the watch list. And then the MVP of the game, that was not a name that I was very familiar with. So him locking his spot in the All-American game, that's what it's all about. So now he's locked in. He's gonna get to come up and show why he deserved that. And that's a new name that wasn't on the watch list.
And who was that? Micah? Was that Micah?
No, that's Cooper.
Oh, Knox Cooper, the quarterback. Yeah.
Knox.
Senior quarterback. He was just tossing it all over the place.
Exactly, and that's a big deal. And this storyline going into this, 2 of our 4 8-man quarterback spots are already full now.
Yeah.
And so that makes it even harder on me, makes it harder on us. But the guys, they deserved it. They did what they needed to secure their spot, and nobody can say they didn't deserve it.
Well, the 4 o'clock that was the other 1 o'clock game up there yesterday. Let's move to the 4 o'clock. Evangel Christian and Arendelle Parrott. Big Alabama North Carolina matchup. Yeah,
I mean that was such a fun game, and just getting to know Coach Beeman over the last several months, and we actually got to get closer to the Arendelle parents and coaches and players. They did a full team banquet with us on Friday before the opening ceremony.
Oh wow!
So everybody that came, they brought a great crowd. They had it's kind of a little secret we have at Rocky Top. We don't just we make burgers, hot dogs, and chicken tenders. That's our specialty. But we have our director of food and beverage has a catering background, and he can really create a top of the line catered meal. So they got a sit down banquet. Everybody dressed in their Sunday best and came, and all the guys were in their matching polos and they ate with us. So we got to get to know them a little more, and their headmaster was there. This was a big deal for them. They put a lot of resources into this game. They knew the challenge that they were taking, and they were ready for it. They took it with open arms, and they made the most of it by making this a trip to remember. So, but going to the game, I mean, I was as I felt like a kid on Christmas morning watching watching Perry get the ball. One run from Jalen Solomon, big run, 40 yards plus whatever. Got down into the red zone, and then very next play, just a beautifully scripted play action pass. They've got a lefty quarterback, only southpaw on the day. Guys, why? Because I had already Evangel knew the guy they needed to watch, Jalen Solomon, just broke off a big run on him. So play action, perfect call, guys wide open, beautiful pass for a touchdown. I'm like, all right, here we go. We got, they just came out and punched the best team in 8-man football for the last 4 years in the mouth.
Yeah.
So couldn't have started any better. But credit to Evangel, and they do this all the time. They get punched in the mouth and they respond. So we had a really good competitive game for the first half and into the third quarter. And, it felt like Evangel just kind of took over, whether it was conditioning, whether it was depth, just what Evangel does. But regardless, I don't want to take anything away from Arendelle because they are absolutely a good enough team to compete with Evangel, which means they can compete with any 8-man team in the country, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt.
Jalen Solomon, I really want to say he was the best running back on the field yesterday, which is saying a lot. But he ended up with a touchdown. I don't know his exact yardage, but it had to be at least 120. And to do that on Evangel's defense, on Clay Romano, Coach Smith, that's not, especially when they were keying on him. They knew they had to stop him, and really, overall, didn't stop him, but did enough, to make it hard on Parrott. But he had a great game. He had one run in particular, his touchdown run. He hit the edge and he was gone. And he beat an angle from Kemp Swords, who's a very fast player himself, as we know from that game. And so he's, in my opinion, I do think that Solomon was the best running back on the field, on that field at least, from what I saw yesterday. And that's not easy because there was a lot of good running backs all day. Jalen Venter, Georgia Force has 2 or 3 guys that could start on every team. But to me, I think Solomon is the best running back we saw yesterday. So credit to him. But then, I got to give Evangel all the love, Coach Smith, for bouncing back from going down early, which is not, it probably was not expected, especially 2 plays.
Wasn't in the script at all.
It was right. It was not. So, and I'll say that the next couple drives were not easy either. Kemp had to really had to break out. That's where he won MVP because he hit that next level. So he made a difference on the ground and through the air, and he had to win that game. He really did. So, he had the best game that I've seen him have, and he had to do it all game really, which was exciting to see. Dual threat, like we always knew. He was a threat on the ground, and he made some great throws. And Coach Joyner had some fantastic play calls as well. They had all the motion, all the trickery, all the shifts. Just the thing. It's so hard for a defense to contain that. Will Welch went off in that game. He was right up. He was probably second in the MVP voting because, like always, he did it in multiple facets of the game. Special teams, not just on the receiving end, kicking in. He had a couple onside kicks that were recovered by his team. And then I think at least a rushing touchdown or receiving touchdown, and then made plays on defense too. So Will really played, I think, one of his best games, as well as just looking at him. He's really physically gotten stronger and bigger from last season. So number 7, he's wearing number 7 this year. He's going to have a big season.
And again, we talked about this with Pack and Freedom, a very average score played on a full 53 by 100 field by 8-man players.
Absolutely. And
very average score.
For that score was not surprising one way, whether it went one way or the other. One thing on Evangel's defense, I really thought that would be the area that they would have the biggest holes to fill, and they lost so much in the front seven.
All 8 starters.
All right, but then you come out yesterday, you had Reed Castleberry wearing 22. He was obviously one of the best defensive linemen in the game. He was disruptive. He was all over the field, and he was in the backfield more often than not. And then I'm trying to look at the name. There's a name that I had not recognized, number 10, on there.
Oh, Nick Cloud.
Yes,
yeah,
Nick Cloud.
Yeah.
Nick Cloud really broke out as well on offense and defense. So he's running the ball. He's playing middle linebacker for them. I think he caused a fumble early on in the first or second quarter, and played a great linebacker position. So, where I thought they might be the weakest, now it looks like they're somehow strong again there. So, so sorry to the teams that have to play Evangel, but you're still going to have to deal with a front seven that's very physical, hard hitting, and you just got to you got to match it. And I will say, Arendelle, they matched it. I just don't think they could do it for 4 quarters, and I think Coach Beeman would say that as well. They maybe got a little gas. They ran out of steam, and it's something that they can build off of. I see them doing very well in the North Carolina Independent School Conference this year. I think they'll win a lot of games, and I think they'll be better because of this game. We saw Kerry Christian do that as well. They had a quarterback change.
Yeah.
And they took that game and built on it. And I think Coach Elliott will agree that his team was better after that loss. Because and I think Arendelle will be in the same boat.
Well, let's see who steps up to challenge Evangel next, because currently they are 2-0 against North Carolina teams. Got a good little streak going there.
Yeah, you're right, and I will be watching their schedule just like everyone else, but I'm really intrigued in their 11-man games. They have 11-man games scheduled against Abbeville Christian, and Chambers Academy.
Banks Academy.
So Chambers versus Evangel 11-man. I mean, that's going to be must-watch TV right there. So I think that's if Coach Smith and Evangel can pull off a victory in that game, I will just I'd be so impressed, and I won't be upset if they don't win, because Coach Jason Allen, one of the best coaches in the Southeast, coming off the state championship, and he's got some boys on that team. And if there's a team that can match Evangel's physicality, maybe even one up it, it's Chambers. So I've got that game circled for sure.
Well, that was all the 11-man games that were played yesterday, or 8-man games rather, that played yesterday, and then I had the 2 11-man games after that. The first one at the 4 o'clock slot down at field 6. Anderson Cavaliers.
I think that score was a surprise to everyone.
Yeah. Well, and it was crazy. It was 2 different types of games. I mean, it was a defensive battle. The offenses just could not get anything really going, and then Anderson just pulls away with a pick 6 and then a couple touchdown runs. They had a pick 6, had a punt return, and a kick return for a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, and just across the board. I mean, if you look at Cabarrus, probably the worst. I know you said Jalen Solomon, best running back of the day. Toughest running back of the day to me.
Field, and I'll say that was on the field that I was on.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say so for me, Cal Forster from Cabarrus is just an absolute workhorse and a dog, and just was. There was one play I'm watching him run. He goes to the ground, and I look out, and there's only 3 guys that are not within 3 to 4 yards of him, trying to bring him down, or just in the vicinity of trying to bring him down. But a big shout out to Avery Harris and Braden Cheney from the Cabarrus Stallions. Eli Dempsey, number 25, is just an absolute unit on the defensive side of the ball, because every time myself and Eli turned around, it was, hey, guess who made that tackle? Or, hey, guess who did this? Guess who did that? Guess who broke through and stopped them from kicking the extra point? Oh, it was Eli Dempsey. So it was just ongoing for them. But for Anderson, they tried a couple different guys at quarterback, just kind of tried a couple different running backs. But Sanchez Madison, T. Morris, Tylee Morris, those are some of the guys that just jumped up. And then they brought in Nazi Prelo, and he just took it to the next level. It was a fun one. It was 14-6 at the end of the third quarter. Fourth quarter, Anderson, like I said, they got the pick six. They got a punt return. They just kind of pulled away in there, and a big win for them. And of course, it's a conference win, so it's even more special for them. For Cabarrus, it's tough because now you've come up twice. You lost in overtime, and then you lost a tough one to another conference team in Anderson. So, but I will say from hearing them talk about the experience, Cabarrus that is, and just seeing the reaction to the game and the way everyone was afterwards, not discouraged at all in coming up and playing. So you love to see that, and again, a big win for Anderson.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy for Coach Norris with Anderson, and I want to mention how T. Morris was the MVP of that game. So I'm going to go back and watch that game.
Yeah, number one, T. Morris. Yeah.
Yeah, T is the one who stamped his ticket to the All-American Bowl as well. So he must have really went off down there. And I did want to update the listeners. A lot of people have been reaching out with concern. There was a pretty scary injury yesterday with one of Coach Pringle's players on the Stallions, Tyree.
Yeah.
Perjean had a neck situation. It was actually a pretty freaky situation where his chin strap cut him, so it actually sliced his neck open, and that was the reason for the blood. But he did go unconscious. So I have an update on him. He got to the hospital. He ended up needing 4 stitches, and he's in concussion protocol, which is good news considering people were thinking really, the worst about.
Yeah, no doubt.
About the whole situation. Is a little scary, but want to report that Tyree is doing well, and I believe he'll be back on the field pretty soon. But obviously, we want the young man to take his time and make sure he's ready to go. So happy to hear that. And I know, and you mentioned it, Coach Pringle, he probably didn't sleep well last night. He doesn't love the idea of going 0-2 up here, and so that's something they're looking to avenge, I'm sure. But that's a great program. They have a great cheer program as well. Same with Cavaliers, and so that there's a very good chance they're going to be invited back again next year. I can tell you that. But they, kudos to them. They're playing tough conference matchups up here. Maybe next year we'll get them a true neutral game, and they can take a little breath, and maybe it'll help them. Help them out a little bit, but
and you mentioned Tyree and the situation. A big shout out to him because before that happened, he was one of the guys that was standing out and making a couple plays early on in the game in the first half. So a big shout out to him.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's 2 teams that we'll be keeping an eye on. They're both going to be playing Georgia Force, I believe. It's the team we'll be talking about next, and they are perennial 11-man homeschool programs, and I'd love to see them match up against some of the teams that go to Panama City out of Texas and Ohio and the Midwest and out of Florida, and just see how they match up against those teams. But we'll be watching them, and we'll have some of their players up here in December for both teams, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. And the last game of the day, kind of the main event between the Virginia Spartans and the Georgia Force. Big Force win, but Virginia just absolutely scrappy.
Yeah, that was a game you were able to come up and watch as well. So, I think I speak for you and everybody in the press box, and how impressed and surprised we were with the Virginia Spartans. They showed up with literally 17 guys. That is not a mistake there. They had 17 guys, and they played a tough team. Like you look at Georgia Force, they look as good as any top tier high school football team, do they not?
Yeah. Well, and
Randall Fanning, one of the best quarterbacks I think in the Southeast. Another guy, I just saw him last December, and he looks like he's gained 30 pounds of muscle and 2 inches of height at least. The kid looks college ready. He's only a junior. So he came out and he
Who's
did
that?
what we
Wade
expected.
Comby?
Wade Combie, what a
Yeah,
game by
yeah.
him. He was our MVP. So happy for him. He's a blue blood. He was here at All American Bowl. His brother played in this. His dad has been involved with stuff we've been doing here for years, and so excited for him. He did it in every facet of the game: rushing touchdown, receiving touchdown, punt return, on defense, causing fumbles, tackles. He was all over the place. He just looked like he was on another gear. He would get the ball, and he would hit the edge, and he was gone. But he looks like a tight end, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's impressive. He is going to be tough to stop because you can put him at H back, you can put him at tight end, you can put him at running back, you can put him at outside receiver, and he's gonna do well. So talk a little bit about the Spartans. They had a kid, and I was surprised to hear actually that he's not a true quarterback. He's actually their running back, but J.J. Copeland. So number 4 in that game. So I would advise everyone to go back and watch that the replay of that game on the 8-Man Extreme YouTube channel. I've decided to dub him a nickname because we were just saying it so much up there. Parker, Prophet, and I, who did the PA, we're going to call him Juice Copeland.
There you go.
He has got juice.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he was, and you can tell they've not done a whole lot of practice. They were missing some guys. They might have been missing their true center because he was either having to reach out and get the ball with one hand to his left, to his right, over his head, on the ground, and it didn't phase him. And just when it looked like he had nothing, he was Johnny Manziel.
Yeah,
yeah. He was running around, making the defense look silly, and then he made a few throws where I was like, these are Patrick Mahomes type throws, and fitting it into tight windows, throwing on the run, and so he's impressive. Juice Copeland, a guy that I had no idea about, that we're now definitely watching and want to get up here in December for All American Bowl. I want to see him at running back, but I think, man, he put him behind an experienced line, and who knows what he could do. He's just lightning in a bottle. So he impressed us. He's got another level. He ended up scoring the only touchdown of the game for the Spartans on a kick return. Beautiful hesitation, found a hole, and he was gone.
Oh,
how much speed Georgia Force has. He was gone.
Nah, he was a lightning rod.
Another guy on their team was their wide receiver, Arnez Henderson.
Yeah.
He had a couple Moss-like catches in traffic. He could go up and high point a ball. He's a real thin, tall kid, but he's strong too. He's not afraid of contact. And then also Sharif Muhammad, number 6. He played defensive end for them. He was their disruptor on defense. So, they obviously didn't have much depth. Guys were going down all day, but especially in that game with cramps, and, the heat does that. And they were having to rotate in guys, playing positions they probably don't normally play. So credit to the Spartans. I really want to make sure to give them some credit because they did a lot with a little, and they didn't quit. They played till the end, played hard against a really good Georgia Force team. So a couple notable guys on Georgia Force's roster I was going to pull up. One being their running back, number 0. Have to find his name again.
It was. Well, I guess I would have to pull it up too.
Sutton Mallory.
Yes.
Yeah, man. He fantastic running back. I think Randall probably ended up handing the ball off more than throwing it, but they've got weapons in the running game between him, between Preston Laracy, and Joseph Stovall, John Paul Schultz, and Wade Cumbie. They can all run the ball. They're all threats out of the backfield. And then you've got, I just checked number 5, Tyler Bugler, I think. got to be at least 6'6", maybe 6'7". Looks like a basketball player. He had a nice Moss-like catch down near the end zone yesterday. So he's just lanky, tall. He can jump. So he's a guy we're watching now too. That was an impressive game for him. And then I do want to shout out Zachariah Duke. Although he didn't play in the game, I think he's one of the best kickers in homeschool football and possibly in Southeast period. So excited to see him come back from injury and start booming kicks again. But anything else you want to add on that game?
I think that's a pretty complete wrap. No, I mean, it was, again, just the never quit of the Spartans, even through a lot of the adversity they had, even just in the second half. Just never quit, and it's the huge testament to their leadership.
Absolutely, and I'd love to see it because that's what football's about. And we talked about it too. If that team was to go to 8-man, they'd be dominant.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot of 8-man in Virginia too, so there you go.
Quarterback, they would dominate 8-man football.
Well, there's some teams that they could play, but no, like we said in the beginning, overall, just an absolute smorgasbord of types of games. A lot of good gameplay, a lot of good football, and it was all day football too. So you gotta love that. You gotta love that.
Absolutely, and we had good weather for the. It was hot, but it wasn't overly hot. We got some breezes, not a single drop of rain. Clouds seemed to come at the right time, and then the nightcap. It ended. It was cool. It was under the lights. Georgia Force getting to celebrate their win, and so it was cool to see. And it was a great day for us. We want to thank everybody that came out, everybody that tuned in, and we're just looking at how we can expand and make it grow in the future. I want to say that if everybody will mark their calendars, August 9th is the Saturday, so August 8th and 9th next year. We're going to do it on the same weekend as far as week 0 goes.
Yeah.
So if there's any coaches watching on here, we're going to release a quick form soon. We want to go ahead and figure out who is interested. We want to start setting matchups sooner than later for next year's event, and try to see what we can come up with. Maybe we can add another 2 or 3 games. I think we have room for that. Always a possibility of a Friday night game if the local school doesn't have a scrimmage. So we are starting to already look at next year. So if you're listening and you're interested, you want your team to come up to Gatlinburg or down to Gatlinburg next year, look for our form. We'll put it on social media. All of our handles are at Gatlinburg Bowl. And on our website at RockyTopSportsWorld.com/events, and any of the All-American events will get you there. But we'll probably go ahead and put Black Bear Brawl up there with a link to a form for interested coaches, ADs, headmasters to fill out. Let us know that they are interested, so we can start trying to make some matchups. So, already excited about next year.
And a big thank you to all 5,500 people that watched yesterday.
Awesome. That's great to hear, and I know those numbers only go up. Appreciate you guys keeping all these videos up, so kids can go back and watch themselves again, start making highlights from it.
I think that's the cool part of it too, is just to see on social media. You know, guy pulls up the clip, and it's they don't just get to pull up a clip of a recorded game. It's an actual broadcast, and I think it adds a little bit of a special flavor to a highlight reel.
Absolutely, and I want to make one more announcement. We're looking at doing a couple of team-based awards for cheer and football that we'll release on social media. For example, on the cheer side, we want to reward what we felt was the best halftime performance, the best spirit, and then some team awards, maybe the best team defensive performance, offensive, and then overall performance. So we're looking at doing something like that this week, just to show some love to those cheer teams and football teams that we felt went above and beyond. But I could tell, we were very, very fortunate. 12 programs from 6 states. Every single one of them would be welcome back, and they carried themselves with pride. And I haven't heard of any anything negative in the community about it. Only positive. Everybody talks about how friendly everyone is with these organizations, and so we want more of them here. And like I said, we're very thankful for the 12 programs we had here over the weekend.
Well, there you go. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on, and great wrap up to the 2024 Black Bear Brawl, second annual. And we'll talk to you a little bit more closer to December, closer to All American Rising Stars.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to following everyone's season. Please tag us in your scores throughout the season. Keep us updated on individual performances that you feel are noteworthy. It's hard for us to, and it's a good problem to have. We know we have so many connections with so many programs now, but keep us in the loop, and we want to share good performances by teams and players as well.
Absolutely. Andrew, appreciate you, and we'll talk to you a little bit closer in December.
Yes, sir.
All
Thanks,
right.
James.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of your Sunday.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We'll see you. Mr. Andrew Capps from Rocky Top Sports World. Let's jump straight into our next interview and get him on the phone. And again, that interview and this interview here with Coach Tim Moore from Russell Christian, brought to you by Sutton Pools. Joining me is the head coach of Russell Christian Academy. He's Coach Tim Moore. Coach, one of the most patient, understanding coaches that I'm aware of, that I know. I appreciate you still jumping on, even with the delay getting you on. And how's the team looking?
We're looking pretty good. We're looking okay. You know, we got still a work in progress, but you know, we're just trying to get things together and get ready for Friday night.
Yeah, getting ready to kick the season off, and coming off of your the school's seventh straight conference championship, which first off is unheard of. You do not hear about that in high school athletics,
Yes, sir.
especially on the 8-man level. And then for you, it's a back-to-back. You've won it back-to-back. It has to be special to be able to keep that tradition going with Russell Christian, knowing what kind of legacy they have with that game.
Yeah, it is, and you know, I'm just proud to be a part of it. Proud of our young men, you know, stepping up and playing and doing, you know, what we need to do to keep that going. Um, you know, we tell them each year that, you know, you've got a challenge ahead of you, and you've got a tradition to uphold.
Yeah.
And you know, people have a high expectation. And, you know, they step up to it, and that's what we're asking them to do.
And
But,
I feel like whenever you win it that many times, it's just like a prize fighter. The more that he defends his title, the more of a crosshair is on him. And I feel like maybe everybody's looking at y'all going, you know what? We want to be the ones to knock them off. And that's a huge, huge responsibility for your guys to know that, hey, we have, we have some tradition to uphold, and it has to do with bringing gold home.
well, you know, we tell our kids each year, you know, you play like you got a target on your back,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's the expectation. I mean, nobody in this league they're not gonna give you anything. You know, nothing's gonna be easy, and you know, it goes back to what we try to instill and teach throughout the program and throughout our school is, you know, a work ethic. Uh, you know, accept the challenge, do what you need to do to get the task accomplished, and that's really what we're wanting. You know, and that's something we try to instill. And like I say, you know, that's just what the expectation is. You know, you come to play.
And the proof to your point, case in point, you look at the championship game last year, which obviously we got the opportunity to be down there, and I love being at Tuscaloosa Christian in the championship game. You guys do a phenomenal job. Just the conference as a whole does a great job putting the game on. Tuscaloosa very very hospitable. You guys very hospitable as well, and very generous with your time. But you go into the game and you already know that you're playing you're playing Tuscaloosa Christian, who was the
Right.
4 seed, knocking off the 1 seed. It's got to be mixed emotions in that you're thankful that they knocked off Jacksonville, but at the same time you're playing the team that knocked off Jacksonville, so there's got to be something special to them.
Yeah, I mean, we tell our kids, hey, you know, it's going to be tough no matter who you play. And the teams we play, they've got great programs. They work hard. They got great coaches. They get after it. And so, you know, we just tell them, let's go out there and do our best. Doesn't matter who it's against. And when we tee it up, let's do what we come to do. You know.
Well, I want to give you a chance to shout out some guys, and you guys have had some starters that have been there for a little bit, and I want to give you a chance to kind of recognize them, but then also any guys during the off season that maybe have stepped up and taken on a leadership role, or anybody to keep an eye on this upcoming season.
Yeah, we got two seniors this year, Ty Jones and Matt Woodall. Both of them have stepped up, doing a great job for us. Have did a great job last year, and you know, we tell them each year, you don't want to be that class,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that loses it, that lets it down.
Ty,
And
Ty, Ty, is,
so
Ty, is, Ty is such a tough running back. I'm sorry to interrupt. Ty is such a tough running back.
he, you know, he does a good job for us.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and that's what it takes. Every play he plays every play as hard as he can. A lot of our guys, they play every play as hard as they can. We tell them one play at a time. Let's win it one play at a time, one quarter at a time, one game at a time, and that's what it's got to be done. Uh, but yes, he does a great job for us. Our offensive front, we lost two off of it, and we played a lot of guys last year. We were young, um, and so excited in that aspect that we feel like we'll be uh, very capable there. Defensive front, we got all of our defensive front coming back. Uh, we're excited about that. Um, our corners, linebackers, they've put in a lot of hard work over the since football season ended. We've been working hard in the weight room, and so we're trying to get mentally composed and ready for Friday night.
Coach, in terms of the CFA and the ACAA, obviously Success Unlimited, they dropped their program, but you have one step up from the six-man division, which a lot of people don't know CFA has six-man, but you have a
Right.
team in Clay County Christian come up to the eight-man level and kind of jump into that slot. So when you get a chance to play a team like that where it's kind of an unknown in terms of how they'll handle the game. Maybe not how much the athletes they have, but how they'll handle the game. How do you prepare and get your guys and your coaching staff ready for a situation like that?
Well, I mean, it's really no different than any other game. I mean, we'll get an opportunity to scout them, from a couple of games prior, just like they'll get an opportunity to scout us and prepare. Um, we go in, we prepare each game trying to do what we do and make sure we can do the best at what we do, and then expect to see, and how to react about, what we're going to see. Um, if I've always said this in all of the years that I've coached, half the battle most of the time is just getting people in the right place and giving an opportunity to make plays.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you can do that, um, and your kids are playing and they're not thinking, they're reacting. That in is where uh, you play good football.
Hey, you guys have a really cool game lined up this season. Silva Bay Academy out of Bay Springs, Mississippi,
Right.
MAIS school. How did that game come about?
Well, they decided they were going to play 8-man football. They didn't. They had a hard time fielding enough for an 11-man team, and so
Yeah.
we had the opportunity. Everything matched up, the dates matched up, and then so we're gonna get an opportunity there to play them. Uh,
It's always got to be special to be able to have that little bit of a crossover with MAIS and fellow Mississippi schools. You guys being in an Alabama conference to get to play somebody that you have a little bit more in common with, kind of like the Victory Christian game, just a little more in common with.
yeah, I mean, it's the trip's definitely not as long as many of our games
Oh,
are.
for sure. Yeah.
When we come across the Alabama line, but at the same time, yeah, it gives us an opportunity to kind of establish some relationships there, play some folks we don't normally get to play, and you know, just kind of expand as far as who we're going to play, and maybe never know what might happen. It might open a door to a few others.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of which, if you, I don't know if you keep up with MAIS, but if you're looking at scheduling next year, and let's say you guys, let's say you have a date that matches up with somebody, is there a team or a couple teams that you look at and go, I'd like to play these guys?
Well, I mean, not off the top of my head.
That's fair.
I mean, we're trying to kind of get on our on the teams which are on the dates which are uh, non-district, non-region. Uh, we're trying to get it where we can kind of keep things fairly close. Where we don't have to go so far,
Right.
and that helps us as far as travel. It helps us as far as preparation. Light nights don't get as long, getting home at 1 or 2 a.m. and sometimes that's the way it is. I mean, I think everybody runs into that. So
Oh, I
um,
know all about that, coach. That's
yeah, yeah.
uh,
But that's what we're kind of looking at.
you guys get to play North River as well. But with AISA, of course, they're AISA, and AISA is expanding there in Alabama, and adding more and more teams. Um, the more teams that you can add within a pretty decent distance, like you said, not getting home at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, that's got to be exciting to see the game grow in an area that you know uh, you guys will be able to play a little bit closer games. There'll be more options for that.
It is. We played North River last year. Had a really good, good game with them. We kind of didn't come out on top, but it helped us. It helped us to grow. And I believe you're made by uh, the competition you play. Uh, you got to play some good people to keep getting better every week, and that's what we're trying to do. We want to continue to work, show our kids, that we've got to step up to the level of competition and that we play and that we participate in and that we desire to, you know, play too. And so, getting that opportunity playing North River, they're good folks, and it's a good game for us, for both of us.
I think last season was kind of the embodiment. The saying. There's a saying every any given Sunday, and of course in the high school world we say any given Friday. But I think y'all's conference is the definition of any given Friday. You guys beat Cornerstone in overtime. You lose to Tuscaloosa by 8. I think I'm seeing that. Yeah, 8.
Yeah,
You know, but then you come back in the playoffs and you absolutely, get a solid win over Cornerstone, and then you're able to beat Tuscaloosa in overtime in the championship. Any given Friday just seems like kind of the theme for you guys and your conference opponents. It's got to be fun playing in a conference that's competitive with each other.
it is. And the thing about it is, you've got great coaches as well as great athletes, and that
Yeah,
and
good men,
that's
good men, good men.
playing against good folks and having good relationships. That's a lot. You really enjoy it, and they're good folks. They're good people. Uh, they run their programs with integrity and with honest hard work, and that's what it's all about. Good people establishing relationships both with athletes and with coaches, and you know um, it gets into what we try to teach our kids about proper morals and character and Christian values. Those are the things that we really want most of all. And so when you can have that fellowship and that brotherhood across a conference and a region, then that's important.
How long did it take you to go to sleep after that championship game last year?
Well,
Because
we
you weren't too far from home.
no, we weren't too far from home. Had a lot of time to sit and think about it, and also, to get back and consider, you know what they say, enjoy it while you can, and then
Yeah,
get back to reality. And so that's what we did. The following week we kind of got into, all right, what we're going to do next year.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it was great. It was fun. And we're looking forward to great things this year.
Top three funnest games you've played in or you've coached in?
I think,
It's
um,
got to be up
it's
there. That
it was those two last year. Um, that they were in there, and then I'd have a hard time picking a third, but I'd say they go 1-2.
fair
So
enough. Fair
yeah,
enough. I ask all coaches this that we have on the show this season. Are we going with the pregame? Or if we can only have one, are we going pregame meal or postgame meal?
we're gonna do a pregame meal. That's just for lack of a better term, that's it fits, and it's tradition, and so that's what we're gonna roll.
What is the if you're picking, what's the preferred pregame meal?
Well, it's not pizza. You know, uh, that one doesn't fit well. I don't
I
know.
have a feeling that some of your guys would pick pizza.
They would, but they just don't know any better. But no, I mean we something easy on the stomach. You know how it goes.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Little chicken pasta or something like that.
there you go. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, you got it. Coach, I appreciate you coming on with the delay.
No problem.
I love getting a chance to catch up with you, and um, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do this upcoming season. You've got some really good athletes coming back, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to see you guys and just see CFA compete as a whole and to see what you guys can do there.
Well, we're looking forward to good things this year, and excited about the beginning of the year and seeing getting into it, and just looking for the opportunity to compete again.
You got to be excited for that season opener Friday.
Oh yes, sir. We're looking forward to it.
School's going to be fun this week.
Hey, every day's a great day. That's for sure.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Coach, and good luck this season.
God bless you, my friend.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye bye.
We'll see you. That's Coach Tim Moore from Russell Christian. Appreciate him jumping on, and even with the delay, took a little bit longer, but had to recap those games in Gatlinburg with Mr. Andrew Caps. A lot of fun in that one, and again, a big thank you to Sutton Pools for sponsoring both of those interviews and conversations. So let's preview this upcoming weekend. Let's run through this real quick. Got some fun games. Let's start in the ACSC. Lighthouse Homeschool, the Warriors. They are headed to Mount Juliet to take on the Tennessee Heat. And Heat sitting at 1-0. Warriors, this is their season opener on the road in Tennessee. And, of course, they came up 2 years ago, got the win. So very, very fun, close game. So this one should be a lot of fun. I believe they – hang on. Now I'm starting to second guess myself that they won. Hold on, let me see. And what's sad is I was there. I was at the game. Hang on, let's see. Yeah, they won 34-33. That's right. Super fun close game. So East Central, they're on the road at Tuscaloosa Christian. Little ACSC CFA matchup, and we talked to Coach Daniel Smith last week. He's looking forward to this game, and should be a good one. Should be a lot of fun. AISA they don't kick off until I think their kickoff game is the 22nd is the first one, it looks like. So we'll wait on them. Let's go to the CFA. We talked to Coach Tim Moore. We talked about Russell Christian's game against Cornerstone Christian coming up. Big rivalry game. Went to overtime last season rather. But we talked about East Central at Tuscaloosa, so a little bit of crossover. Another crossover game, Tabernacle Christian and South Haven Christian out of Springfield, Tennessee. Little bit of a CFA SEEC matchup. Should be a lot of fun. Tabernacle coming off of a playoff run last season, but they've got a brand new head coach. They've lost some guys. South Haven Christian, kind of the same situation. New head coach, lost some guys. Playoff run last year. So should be a fun matchup. That one happening in Tennessee. Looking forward to seeing what happens there. I think 8-man freelance. Yeah, so, well, I'll cover this game. Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. So, Riverside Christian, they are hosting Trinity Christian Homeschool. Of course, the Knights went down to Pelham last season to take on the Eagles. Now the Eagles returning the trip. Riverside Christian coming off of that loss to Zion Christian last season. And Trinity Christian trying to rebound from last season. Let me pull up their schedule from last season real quick. Let's see. They had... let's see. They were 0 for 7. Had a couple close losses. Probably the closest would have been Meadowview Christian, 52-42 loss. Success Unlimited, it was a 30-14 game as well. Let's stay in the SEEC. We talked about Lighthouse Warriors, Tennessee Heat, Tabernacle Christian, South Haven Christian, Lancaster Christian. They're on the road in Chattanooga to take on the Patriots. A little bit of a cross-divisional matchup here between the Knights and the Patriots. Chattanooga, first-year program. Lancaster, first year in the conference, first year for Chattanooga as well. So that'll be a fun one to keep an eye on. And then Carolina Wildcats, they're coming back to Tennessee, but this time to take on Tri-Cities Christian. Tri-Cities coming off that shoot-off game against Gatlinburg, in Gatlinburg against Augusta yesterday. So they're 1-0 against SIFA opponents. Carolina, they're 1-0 against SEEC opponents. So I think this will be a fun matchup. A lot of athletes on both sides of the field. And then the Tennessee Tigers, their first game in program history. They're on the road in White House to take on Christian Community, who comes in at 0-1 after the loss to the Tennessee Heat. Tigers coach Steve Adams, he's never beaten Christian Community head coach Jordan Flanders head-to-head as head coaches. Now, Coach Adams beat him as an assistant in 2015, but as a head coach has not gotten the win. Coach Flanders he's run kind of that matchup there, but it's more than just the coaches, it's the players. Caden Poulin, Mason Bernard, we heard from them at Media Day for Christian Community School and just what they were looking forward to this season. For the Tennessee Tigers, they've got guys all across the board. Asher Armstrong, Dylan Spears. They've got guys that they're bringing into the game. And first game for the Tennessee Tigers, like I said, as a program. So that'll be a lot of fun to keep an eye on. Again, that's Friday night. Let me jump over to Louisiana. Let's talk about the ACEL. Couple games happening Thursday. Southwest Louisiana Homeschool. They are at First Baptist Christian. SWLA, they're 1-0, coming off of their win against Mount Olive Christian. So that game did get updated. The score within the last hour, that score got updated. Hey, shout out whoever did it. I appreciate you. So Southwest Louisiana Homeschool, they're 1-0. First Baptist Christian with the loss to the North Shore Vultures last Thursday. So we'll keep an eye on that one. North Shore Vultures, speaking of them, they are on the road at Acadiana Christian. And Acadiana 0-1 after the loss to JPG. And then speaking of JPG, on Friday, they're on the road at Mount Olive Christian. JPG 1-0, Mount Olive Christian 0-1. So that conference, there's a lot of interplay, a lot of back and forth, a lot of good competition there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think these teams play each other twice, maybe like a home and away. So a lot of fun interaction there in Louisiana. Let's see who else is starting off this weekend. I think Mason-Dixon Conference starts next weekend. Skisa, this weekend they have some games. Now, I mentioned Coastal Hurricanes and JDA, Jefferson Davis Academy. Mentioned that there's a game listed for this past Friday on Max Preps, no score. I'll have to see if I can't find one. But this upcoming Friday, there's more games listed. Orangeburg Christian and Cathedral Academy. Let's see, Cathedral, I believe this is their first year. In 8-man. I think so. Let me see, 2023. What do we got for 2023? Nothing really. So this may be their. Well, no, they've had football. Let's see. Let's go 2022. So they haven't really done a ton of football, but this season they'll have they have a full schedule. So Cathedral Academy and Orangeburg Christian facing off on Friday, and then the fun rivalry game every season between the SIFA and SCISA, Pack Panthers, Jefferson Davis Academy, Rebels, Panthers. Pack coming off of the win against Freedom, so Pack is just out here. They're playing, SEC teams, as SCISA teams. They're going through the list of conferences and just knocking off teams left and right. And before they get to their conference slate of games, so that'll be a fun one to see in the Palmetto State between Pack and Jefferson Davis Academy. Heartland Conference, they don't start until next week. MAIS, they've got a bunch of games happening starting this Friday night. River Oaks at Porter's Chapel Academy, Prairie View Academy at Riverdale, Tallulah Academy at Tensas Academy, and then Briarfield at Franklin Academy. Full slate of games there, and that's just 2A. Nope, that's 1A. In 2A, you have a whole slew of games. Of course, River Oaks, Porter's Chapel, it's a 1A versus 2A. Magnolia Wildcats, they are taking on Humphreys Academy this Friday night. And I don't know what happened, but it doesn't look like a score got reported for, or maybe that game got canceled. Magnolia, and I think it was Wilkinson County that they were going to play. No? Hang on, let's see. Who were they? Who was Magnolia going to play? They were going to play. Well, it's not coming up for some reason. But regardless, coming up on Friday, you have Magnolia Wildcats, Humphreys Academy, Discovery Christian, Heritage Christian, Silva Bay Academy. We just talked about them. They are taking on Russell Christian later on in the season. Silva Bay, they'll be playing Newton County Academy. And then Prairie View and Riverdale, it's a 1A versus 2A matchup there in the MAIS. What other conference am I missing? Let's see. This is Arkansas. They don't start until next week. Oh, Virginia. Let me check on Virginia. Well, no, let's go north. Let me look at North Carolina real quick. I don't think. Well, no, then maybe they do. Stand by. Let me see. North Carolina. Looking for NCISAA. There they are. So Friday, there's a full slate of games. I'm glad I looked it up. Father Capodanno taking on Pungo Christian. Faith Christian, a team that had competed for the conference championship last year. Now I think it was Rocky Mount that won it. No, Wayne Christian. Wayne Christian is who won the game, who won the championship. Faith Christian had beaten Arundel Parrott in the last week of the season, and then in the first round of the playoffs, and then Faith had lost to Wayne Christian, who ended up playing Rocky Mount for the championship. But Faith Christian, they will take on Arundel Parrott this coming Friday. APA coming, Arundel Parrott. I said it again. Arundel Parrott. They're coming off of that game against Evangel Christian. Community Christian out of Wilson, North Carolina. It will be at Northeast Academy. Howard at Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount, like I said, are the defending NCISAA champs. Let me see, 2023. Yes, they are the defending NCISAA champs. So big uphill battle for Howard. And then Sand Hills Classical Christian, they're taking on Lee Christian. All those games happening this Friday. So a lot of good games, a good slate of games. Let me check Virginia. I don't remember which week they start. It's either this week or the following week. Region should be, well, let's go division. Division VISA 8-man. And okay, they don't start until next week. 2 games on Thursday, 2 games on Friday, a bunch of games on Saturday. So there you go. So Virginia does not start until next week. Heartland also does not start until next week. That is the first week of games for the Heartland Christian Athletic Conference. So there's your slate of games that's coming up this Friday. A lot of good ones. Obviously, what I would recommend is you get on the Max Preps app, go to scores, and then you can actually add, it'll say add scoreboard, and you can go through each state. You can go through different, you can break it up by division, conference, region, however, you can just do class 8-man, but it'll give you a whole list of the games that are happening, and if teams are doing live scoring, you can see live scoring updates for those. Max Preps, one of the best sites, I think, for 8-man football, one of the best ways to help 8-man football grow. And they're not really even trying to. They're just trying to do their job to cover, being there for high school football. So, regardless, what a show. What a show. Conversation with Mr. Andrew Capps. Appreciate him coming on and recapping the 2024 Gatlinburg Black Bear Brawl. Very appreciative of Coach Tim Moore. I know the conversation with Andrew Capps took a little bit longer. Not a big, understandably, there's a lot of games to go over, but a huge thank you to Coach Tim Moore for being understanding, still hopping on the show. Always fun to talk to him and interact with him. That'll do it for Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Real Estate, where experience and integrity matters. Another huge thank you to Sutton Pools for sponsoring the interviews all season long. Football's in full swing. Gotta love it. Just here we go, baby. See ya!